Tell me what the hell are you scared of when in the end
Where's the love? Right here on this podcast. Welcome to Love Drops, where your hosts and One Love ambassadors, Charles and Diane, will share love, hope, and inspirational topics taken from their journey and world events. We will also include on location recordings and special pop up guests from cool places all around the world. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
whether big or small, love never fails. Oh, love it conquers all. Love never fails.
Welcome to another episode of Love Drops Podcast. I am so excited for our guest today. I just finished being a guest on her podcast, and now she's going to be on the Love Drops. I love that. I love having the Shine Back episodes where you go and be a guest, and then you invite the host to be a guest on your podcast. That's how we spread the word. That's how we enlarge our platforms. That's how we grow. That is how we genuinely shine into one another's journeys. And I love it. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest a little here. We have Lafaya Mitchell. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist and is on a mission to calm the effects of those experiencing red alert brain. She aspires to share her life changing philosophy, the Lafaya Way, created in over 20 years of real life and professional experience with the world. She has published 3 books in the Lafaya Way, parenting series, and has completed a 12-week curriculum that creates pathways to healthy and effective interactions with hypersensitive children. There's so much more to her bio, but you know what? I'm going to bring Lafaya to the mic and let her introduce herself more to you, the listeners. And with that said, Lafaya, you have the mic.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be on Love Drops here with Miss Diane. She is an absolute beautiful soul. I know if you are a listener, you already know this, but I am so excited to be here. Yes, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist by trade, but I am a big time dreamer. So, I've authored and co-authored multiple books. And now I've decided that I'm going to be, a decent poker player playing out there with professionals. Some of those people that you see on TV, I get to play with, and I study and do all that stuff. So I don't call myself a professional poker player. I call myself a professional therapist who plays poker. And what I've done is I've taken those things that I've shared through my parenting series and also with organizations out there and locally. Okay, especially nonprofit organizations. We work with people with trauma. So when we say red alert brain, right? Just think of it like those who are extra sensitive, like they're kind of quick triggered. They have a really difficult time managing their emotions, right? Because that red alert brain is always going into red alert easily, right? So that's just all your trauma people, those with some mental health diagnoses. It's just, it can encompass a lot of different, different areas, dealing with red alert brain. But, and, as I learned a little bit later on, it also helps us deal with that poker tilt. Not everybody knows what tilt means, but it's just like that point where something bad happens, which is guaranteed to happen in poker. And then all of a sudden you kind of lose your mind for like a couple of minutes or a couple of hours. It just depends on how you are. Maybe some days for some people, but you kind of just lose it for a little bit. And during that time, that's when you tend to lose all your chips. When you could have just got up and taken a walk, you took a bad beat, get up, take a walk, shake it off, do whatever you need to do, meditate, do something to move yourself out of that energy space so that when you come back, you can come back and get back to the grind, get back to playing that game that you really often, if you play it, that you tend to love to play, but you don't love to play it when you're in those bad spaces, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. So I have a better idea of what red alert brain is. Thank you very much. Because I was like, all right. So I thank you for that. And then I love how you take and apply what you are gifted with poker, the strategies, right? And how you just take it. What a great balance, right? What a balance to be able to just strategically let off some steam, right? Doing something that you love. We gotta have that balance. We have
Yeah.
to have that balance, right? Especially when you're a therapist, you're a caregiver, you're someone that is providing a service. You have to also service yourself. You
Yeah.
have to service yourself. So I learned something about you in the break that I want to just start. I want to start here with. And that is how you live your message. You do family therapy and how you live your message in your personal life. Because I think a lot of times people think that us as caregivers, us that are serving others, that our life is perfect and our life is all put together. And, that's why we can serve. And so many times we serve because our life isn't all put together and our life isn't perfect. And a lot of
Right.
the things that we are giving to others, we, need to give them to ourselves. So with that said, you are living your message. You have, instead of living your best life in your empty nester season, you decided, you know what? I still got a lot of love in me, and I am going to share it with those that need it. So you know where I'm going with this, and so I'm gonna pass you
Yes.
the mic so you can, bring our listeners up to speed.
Okay, so I'll say this, and I don't mean it in any, it's just, I don't know, because people always tell me, no, no, right? But I don't know. I don't feel like I made a decision per se. that I
Okay.
look, that I have a lot of love in me to give, because, I could be one, I love my freedom. I couldn't wait for my kids to become adults, you know, and so this was something that was just, I was literally called to do. Okay.
I love it.
Something that I had nowhere near my mind. My youngest was
Mm,
17, and I was happy for her to be 17 and during her way to adulthood. And all of a sudden, we have these kids. First of all, my nieces, and I love them to death, but they were just kind of dropped on us, right? It was just more
wow.
like, my brother, who struggles, and his wife, they dropped the kids off and they just kind of went off somewhere, right? They dropped them off with my mom. Okay. And my mom's trying to take care of these kids. She's older, she's tired, she's cranky. The kids can't even play over there. And so, so I'm like, Mom, I'll just take them during the daytime, and I'll just bring them back at night so that they're safe with you, that. So I had two of the three girls that I have now. One was 8 months, and that was a no for me. I was like, if they can't if they can't go to the bathroom, and so like my kids are grown, right? And so, but I would take these two little girls, and it was the strangest feeling because, like, as I mentioned, I'm not the most like nurturing, or never thought myself to be the nurturing type. I guess there are different ways to nurture, but I'm like that old basketball player. Like, if I could get a newspaper and, like, just read it while the kids are playing. I'm not that person. Okay. But yeah, they were left there. They were at our house like every day for like 8 weeks. Okay. And I was like, man, it doesn't feel like they're leaving. Like, this was something that I knew it was a God thing, because I'm sorry, I love the kids, but I love them from afar. Like, I want them to be able to go home, right? And so, I'm grandma age, leave me alone. And so, so, but no, but I started having this feeling like they're not leaving. So I was like, let me just buy them some of the things that all the rest of the kids have, because I don't want them to feel like they're without, right? It was just a
Right.
strange thing that happened to me, this strange like impulse. And I know it's a fully God thing. I know this, okay? And so I'm going out buying them things. And then about 8 weeks later, I don't know, I won't get the long story on it, but the parents came back because, more because somebody challenged them, said, you're something like, you're stupid, come get your kids. They miss you, right?
Mm,
That didn't come from me. But, they got that message, and they're like, I take care of my kids, and came back, right? And so, and so anyway, they came to get the kids. I was devastated. I was like, what do I do with all this stuff? Do I send it with them? Portion of me, I had the download that says keep the stuff there, right? But I
okay.
didn't follow it. Because I was like, if they're leaving, then why am I keeping this stuff here? Because I was just mad. I was upset. I was hurt, right? And so like, forget it. Take all the stuff, right? And then next thing you know, it took exactly one day for them to lose custody of those children. One day. They picked them
Whoa.
up, drove them. We live in Sacramento County, drove them to Riverside County, and promptly lost custody of the kids. And I was like, oh my goodness. A family friend had to call and tell me. And I was like, and they were like, Fed, they took the kids. I was like, what are you talking about? What does that even mean? I don't understand. Right. And then as soon as I found out they were in the system, I went to work to get them out of the custody of the Child Protective Services because,
Mm,
often wonderful things don't happen. I guess the intention is good, I hope, but often wonderful things don't happen to kids in foster care. So, and I know that,
yeah.
right? I've had
Yeah.
many years with social work and many social worker friends, right? And so I'm trying to get them out, get them out. I have to fight these people for 10 months to get my nieces out of that system for 10 months. Now, me being a person who has a history of writing parenting books and teaching parenting curriculum, teaching foster, not just the foster parents, because I would teach them as well, train them as well, but I would train the staff, the staff, foster
Yes.
care workers, right, on how to deal with and work with difficult to manage children. I
Hmm.
could not get custody of my own blood, my own nieces, right? So they were
Wow.
with strangers for 10
Mm,
months. And so dang near broke me. But after that 10-month fight, I finally got to the right person. Like this is again a God thing. I had started collecting evidence because the worker was so out of pocket. She was so out of pocket. I was like, oh, okay. Well, we're gonna have to start. She was lying on me. She was doing everything she got to say. I will not have any more phone conversations with you without my lawyer on the other line. Because every time I talk to you, there seems to be something that comes up that I know full well I didn't say. Doesn't sound like me, nothing, right? And
right.
so I said, and I'm asking for when can we see the kids? When can this was during COVID time. So when can we see the
Okay.
kids? Like, can we at least do virtual visits? I need to put eyes on the children, right? Like,
Yes.
do I need to come out there to see them? Like, what needs to happen, right?
Right.
But there's so much to the story because I literally had to go through the regular RFA process, like the not kinship care, where you're a relative trying to get custody of
Hmm.
children. I went through as if I was a brand new foster care parent. I went through that process through Sacramento County because the worker would not help me understand how to gain, how to get myself in their system as someone who wanted to do kinship care. So I said, forget it. I know plenty of social workers. Somebody will tell me how to get into the foster care system, and then somebody's going to know I wanted my nieces. Right. So I went
Right.
through that whole process. Now, when I went through the process, I said I wanted those children there in Riverside County. This triggered a message to the worker, and the worker finally got back to me. Did you fill out a foster, application, RFA application through Sacramento County? I sure did. Why did you do that? Because you were giving me no information on how to get my nieces.
Right.
Right. And so,
Right.
and I wanted somebody out there to know that I wanted my nieces in my custody. Right. And
Hmm.
so it was like the most insane process. Now, again, I was a regular foster parent. It's like the whole process seemed backwards. I had to work with Sacramento County and Riverside County. I had Sacramento and Riverside County workers coming to my home every month
Wow.
because they had to do it separately because of the way things were done. It was insane.
Wow.
But after 10 months though, I finally got a hold of, and I was devastated. I finally got a hold of this. I had virtually given up on calling into the Riverside County trying to figure out who our supervisor was and leaving messages for those people because they never got back to me. So I'd almost given up, and then something told me one day, just try one more time.
Hmm.
Just try one more time. I was irritated because I didn't want to.
Right.
Failed attempt so many times, but I called that one more time and I reached this woman who said, you know what? I told her what was going on. And she said, you know what? I'm going to send you to, it was a supervisor about 3, 4 levels up. I'm going to send
Hmm.
you to her, right? Sent me to this
Wow.
woman. I spoke to this woman and I told her almost verbatim this. I said, I know how difficult your guys' jobs are. But there
Right.
comes a time where there is something beyond just your guys' jobs being difficult that's going on that's causing a disruption in things when things should be a certain way, right? Told her that flat out. I respect what it is that you do. However, okay. And I said,
However.
and everything I'm going to tell you, I have proof of, just so you
Mm.
understand. I had things, timelines, proof, email, mess, all the stuff. And I told her, and I broke the stuff down for her like I was a lawyer. Like I think I should go get my JD. But
Hmm.
look, but I broke this stuff down for her. This woman said to me, she said, can you send me proof of that? I sure can. She gave me her email. You
Mm.
know they don't give away their email addresses. She
Right,
gave me her email
exactly.
address, and I sent her proof of just a few of the things that I said, because these are not accusations, these are truths, right? My nieces were with me in 10 days. Within
Okay.
10 days, they
I
were in my
gotta
custody.
jump in. I have to jump in because it's just like, wow, wow, that was a ride. And I have to say this, like as you were talking, you said, well, I'm not gonna, I don't know if it's a love, all the love I have in my heart, or if it was a call. And as you were talking, I felt both. I felt the call because how they got dropped off, but I felt the love because this is what, and I'm not sure if you've ever considered this, but in hearing your story right now, what I got was the babies were brought to you. And at the time the babies were brought to you, even though it's the right thing to do, it's like, I don't know if I'm really like ready for this. So then the babies had to be taken from you. You invested and then it had to be taken from you. They had to be put into a system and then all of it and it activated something in you, even though you were saying like, this and this with the babies and all of that went right out the window. And
Oh, it
it
did.
just it just activated within you like this love mission, like I'm going to get these girls, I am going to get these girls. And so from talking to you, just kind of fast forwarding a little bit, you have had them for 4 years now. You've had them for 4 years now. And so going back to the title of the podcast, just Lafaya Way, right? Just her living life Lafaya Way, right? And so the Lafaya Way is like, yeah, they can come in the day and they have to go. But like the life way was like, Lafaya, you're gonna have to adjust your way, which you have, because 4 years later, now you have your girls. And I want you to just kind of speak to the listeners from that perspective. But before we do, I do want to circle back because that 10 days, I think is very important. I was kind of getting ahead of myself, but in that 10 days, it's very important to just pause and just make note that when you are persistent, when you are, it's like, I'm going to make this happen. And even when you feel like you're at your breaking point, even when it's just like at that point where you're like, you're not really throwing your hands up, but they're kind of lifting, right? You're kind of lifting them. And then bam, here comes that person. Here comes that person that all of these 10 months that you went through made it happen in 10 days. 10 days.
Oh, I never thought about it
10
like that.
days. 10
It was insane when we got to the end of that 10-month period, and she said, your nieces will be there on September 21st. I remember the date, September 21st. It was like almost like, okay, so what's going to happen next, right? To make it so that they can't come. Like I was in disbelief, even though I didn't tell you, I missed all this. Even though we had gone out, we moved out of our old house, we bought a new house. We made with new house with 5 bedrooms. We were like, they are not going to say that they don't fit. They're not going to say there's any reason why these girls can't come to the house. We had their room prepared already. I would go and literally, this is so interesting. I would go to their room and I had a sign up saying welcome and to each one of them that we love you, right? And I would go
Mhm.
in and I would open the door every single night when they weren't there and I would tell them good night. And it feels like now it feels like deja vu when I do it. But when I was doing that every single night, I knew I could feel them there. I knew they
Mm.
were coming. But it was so, but can you think about it, right? When you know that something's going to happen, you know
Yeah.
that something's,
Yes.
that something is going to happen
Yes.
and it's not there yet. Yeah, I was like in this weird space of like devastation and gratitude at the same time, right? I was sitting there like I was like, okay, I know they're coming. It's already done. They're here. Like,
Yes.
but Lord, can they just be here already? Because they're inside the
Yes.
system that I don't trust. I don't these people. I don't
Right.
know these people they're with. They were two
Right.
separate. They've been separated and with two separate families too. Like, what is going on? They can't even protect each other. Like, it's one of the nieces, the oldest one. She was 3 at the time. her whole personality had changed. By the time I finally saw her, we did the virtual visit. By the time we finally got a virtual visit, her whole personality had changed. She was shut down and quiet, and the little one that used to be the quiet one was speaking up and talking. Right. And I
Mm.
was like, oh my goodness, what have they done to my little Shanna? What is going on? And that's when, after that, I decided they wouldn't send them here to Sacramento. They said we can't send them to a different county. So like, fine, I'll come drive and see them. So I started driving to Riverside County. And so
Yes.
I was like, oh no, and
Yes.
this is a 7 to 8 hour drive. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
started driving to go see my nieces. I was like, I'll go every single week. That'll just be another piece of my documentation because I am suing all of Riverside County as soon as I get
Wow.
a minute. Okay.
I feel like this whole situation was so helpful in what you do because when we serve and when we do things in life, we give it from our heart, we give it from love, we give it from a sincere place. But there are some things that you must experience. You might not want to experience, but you must experience it to bring the true validation and frequency of it when you're talking to somebody else. Because why should I trust you? Why should I hear you? Why should I listen to your story? What makes your story so interesting? And when you can say, because I've been there, and you begin to share your story. So I truly believe that even though it happened to you, that the message was brought through you for you to spread to people all around the world because that is what you do. And so you were able to experience it. And one other thing I wanted to touch is just the way that you went to the rooms because we talked about my situation. I'm not going to get into that here, but when we went through our health crisis, I used to go to the hospital every single day at 6 o'clock. I told you about the 6 o'clock prayer. Well, I
Yeah.
parked my car outside and I would pray and I would visualize seeing myself picking up my husband and driving away with him. And I did it every day at 6 o'clock when I couldn't
Yeah.
get in there. There is something about knowing that you know, because then you begin to act into it and you begin to act into it even before it happened. So you were saying goodnight to those babies before they were even in the room. And now look, 4 years later, that's what you're doing. You're saying
Yes.
you're
Yes.
saying goodnight to the baby. So I know from the conversation that you also had kids. So as we are kind of going full circle here, how was it to integrate the four into your home? Because now you're bringing these three babies into your house. So how is that integration process?
That was so interesting for all of us, right? Not only for my kids, but for us, right? So I have now the 33-year-old. At the time, I think he was 29 or so. So he's off on his own, right? Living his life. But my at the time 17 and 20-ish, 19, 20-year-old at the time, they were still in home with me. So my 17-year-old, she's on the spectrum. She's very accustomed to, she's highly anxious, right? A lot of social anxiety. And so she's accustomed to being able to come to mom anytime. She has my full attention because she's my only girl, first of all, and the other two are boys. They're older boys. So,
Okay.
they're off, they're doing their own thing. Like my little RJ, he's in college, he's going to work, he's doing his thing. He does it, he's in his man cave when he's not doing that. And so, but he's just, he's pretty low maintenance, right? And then he's
Okay.
kind of looking down, like he's looking down around like don't expect for me to babysit. Look, that's but my girl, my only girl. Okay, now we have the introduction of three new little girls, right? So
Mm,
she no longer has that safe space that she has with me. And she was very, very, very childlike. So even though she's 17 years old, she kind of carried more like maybe a young teenager, like maybe 13,
right.
14, but a different kind, like maybe the old school kind, because she's very attached to me, hugging, always on me. She'll even come,
Mm,
she's bigger than me. She'll even come and lay on, if she had a tough day, she just come lay on me and just all her weight, huh? Like I had a tough day,
mm,
mom. I just sit here with me for a minute so I can regulate,
right.
right?
Right.
And she really she lost that. She lost the mom that she knew. So
Oh,
she
okay.
had literally started having panic attacks.
Oh
She would
no.
go to school. She had not had any issues with that for years. But she started
Right.
going to school and she started having, she was trying to call and explain to me, Mom, this is what's happening. She said, I'm not sure. I think I might need you to come get me, but let me call you back. Let me see if I can get myself regulated. So, and then, so I had to go to her school, make a visit. I visited, I'm the type of mom, I'm a fix it mom. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
we're going to the counselor's office. What is our plan for her? Because we need to make sure she has, yes, she's done well all these years, and no, she has not needed an IEP because we have worked with her all these years, but now she needs some accommodations. What are you going to do? All right,
Mm-hmm.
we need her to have a space to go to that it does not take an hour for me to get to her to, for her to be okay, right? And so we
Right.
set something up for her. And from that point, she never had another panic attack after that. She needed to know that she had a safe space to easily get to because everything life had become so overwhelming. Home was no longer a place where she could really decompress. Now there are three little loud little girls.
Right.
They are taking up all the space, right? So it was an adjustment to say the least. And for my husband and I, we're like semi-retired. So we're
Right.
like going wherever we want to, when we want to. We were playing in the tournament. We were all studying, playing tournaments, doing things like that. And so we just had really had a entirely different kind of life. Like we had been traveling around and, really becoming well known in the poker community, well, at least locally and, some other places because, we stand out. The poker.
Right.
I
Yes.
really stand out in the poker. I really stand out in the poker community. But yeah, so we had to make an adjustment. Like we're like,
Okay.
oh, we can't do those things anymore. When we
Mm.
travel now, we have to plan for who's going to babysit three little girls,
Right.
right? And then
Right.
and we honestly, the honest truth is we literally can't do that because they need us. They need to know that they're safe. They need to
Yes.
know that they haven't been abandoned, and we need to be here in
Mm.
order for that to happen, right?
Mm.
And so it was quite an adjustment. I think I went through my own depression, because sometimes,
Okay.
people don't see the other end of that. They're like, oh,
Yes.
must be a saint. I get a lot of the, oh, bless your heart. I don't know if I could do that. But I would have said the same thing myself,
Exactly.
honestly,
Exactly.
if I weren't in the situation. But there was no choice. And people say, yeah, you had a choice, but my heart, there was no allowance for any room other than
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to take these girls in, and they are our family. So, but very strange adjustment. And then we're not even going to throw in trying to keep my brother and his wife, if they are behaving the way they need to, a
Right.
part of their lives, because my goal was never to take their children away. Their children had
Right.
already been taken away. But my goal was never to do that. And it's, if you know how to be a right person around them, then I am
Mm-hmm.
more than happy to have you
Mm.
spend with them, but even that
Yes.
time in an adjustment, because I'm that mean sister that has boundaries, right? And I'm not just going to allow any type of behavior around my kids, around the kids that
Absolutely.
I'm raising. So, and
Absolutely.
I told them that if I'm taking them on, I'm not going to treat them any differently than I would my own kids. So if I wouldn't
Right.
allow my own kids to do something, they're not going to do it either. So that means you have to be in line.
Okay. So just question. Are you legal guardians now or just still foster parents? And the reason I asked this question is when you mentioned your brother and his wife, because we already know from earlier in your story how they came and they're like, well, I want my kids. And so did you take it deeper and further to protect you? Because when we put ourselves in those spaces, right, to say, okay, I'm going to take guardianship, then we have to protect us too because you're pouring in love and you become invested, emotionally invested into these children, and you genuinely want to see them succeed and feel safe. And that's a way to make them feel safe is when, nobody can't come and just, on a whim take them. So where
Right.
are we at with the legality of it?
So I told you four, they've been with us now for 4 years. Actually, we're going on 5 years. And we legally adopted them last year.
Wow.
So we legally, so whole everything, birth certificates, we're on them, the whole shebang, because I had to make sure I didn't do any of this lightly. We took all of the years. They had 3 years to get things figured out, and all that. And after that, we were like, oh yeah, we're not doing anything other than that. There will be no room to try to come in and say anything at any point, beyond this, because we
Right.
gave you a good solid 3 years to get it together.
Right. Right. So are their parents, well, their biological parents, because now you guys are the parents. So your brother and his wife, are they in their lives now?
Yes. Yes, it's absolutely wonderful actually. At first, it had to be very, very limited. So definitely like supervised visits, all of that. There was a lot of stuff that came along with that stuff too, because I had to learn that supervised visits meant me being there present, being present, because I couldn't really trust other people to make sure that the kids were properly supervised. I tried, but it did not work out too many times, several times. Had a couple of things happen in front of the children. And again, I'm not a three strike kind of person. It's like, okay, you got your one. And then two was, first time shame on you, right? Second time shame
Right.
on me. Right.
Right.
And you're
Yes.
not getting a third, right? That's pretty much
Right.
what we had to deal with. Like two incidents, and where some people may not consider them to be big incidents, but I
Mm-hmm.
do, because I
Right.
don't want the kids hearing anything that doesn't make sense for children to see or hear. Okay,
Right.
for them to feel traumatized in any way or sad, or you know what I mean. I mean,
Yes.
they're sad to feel sad sometimes, but to feel scared or sad about, sorry for some other adult that has some control over the situation. No, I don't allow
Right.
any of it. And so we had
Right.
two incidents, and I was like, okay, well then that's done. And then there was a 6 month period where I pretty much cut them off for about a 6 month period. And during that time, their things really started to turn around. Like not
Mm.
completely and totally, but they started to turn around. They were no longer getting arrested every other week, one of them, and other stuff like that. And they found a place, they found a stable place to live. They got things, they started to get things in order, where I'm like,
Yes.
oh, okay, well let's see what, they stopped battling with each other, because the way they fight was insane, right?
Wow.
And so,
Okay.
and but they stopped all of it. And so now I get to allow them to be a part of the girls' lives. They probably get to see them on a weekly basis. If not, if they miss a week, then it's by that every other week. And usually that's because we had some things to do or somewhere to go or whatever. But yeah, they get to see them.
Okay, so I'm a strong advocate. So as we're kind of just like wrapping this up, because I didn't know how the conversation was going to go, but I knew it would be interesting because there were so many roads to go down. So we're definitely gonna have to
Yes.
have you back to continue the conversation because there's so many roads to go down. But when you mentioned that in our intermission point, I knew that that needed to be spoken about. And one of the big reasons is because the motto I live by is it takes a village.
Yes.
I'm a grandmother, so we have grandkids, and we are very active in the lives of our grandkids, even though we travel the world. That's part of why we do what we do because we want them to be able to know they can do it. We want them to know that, the world is open to you and you can do anything that you set your mind to. And we are here for it. We're here 100% for it. So I remember you mentioning your mom early on in the story. Is your mom still a factor? So is your mom still like that, a part of that village?
Yes, my mom is a big time part. Like there are things too that, I love my mom dearly, but there are things too that, she allows that I won't allow. Okay.
Okay.
So that's where we had points of, I wouldn't say strong disagreement, but where we had to establish understanding. Okay.
Okay.
Because my ultimate goal, I love my brother. I love my little brother dearly. But my ultimate goal is to make sure the children are first,
Yes.
and that they're safe and that they're put
Yes.
first. Okay. I don't care if I feel a little guilty as a sister, if I need to set certain boundaries or not. And I'm looking at my little brother, and he's like, "Faye, what's going on?" I'm like, "Baby, because we actually sat down and had a talk. I'll get back to my mom in a second, but I actually sat down and had a talk with my brother, and I told him, I said, that I'm not going to be able to have the kids around you guys if you're not behaving like you need to. Like I understand that you guys have problems. I get all that, but this is about like I didn't take this on for them to continue to have bad experiences. Like nobody
Right.
kept us from those, but guaranteed anybody in my care, they're gonna be kept from that. And
Yeah.
he's like, I understand. He's like, I get it, you know?
Yes.
And so we had to really sit down and have a real talk. Like, I love you to death, but I won't allow you to hurt yourself by hurting your children. Because when you hurt your
Right.
children, you hurt yourself, right?
That's right. That's
Anxiety,
right.
right? I'm big sister. Even if it's hard, I gotta do it, right? But with my mom, she's a wonderful support. Like she's a wonderful support. She takes the kids to church every week. I work on Sundays. Takes kids to church every week, choir rehearsals.
I love
She
it.
is very much a part of all of her grandchildren's life. That is so very important to her. It's very important to her. So all the energy that she has, she puts into her grandchildren.
I
So
love it.
she's a
I
big
love it. And
part.
I love that the girls, that their story did not end in trauma. I love that they had that village that came in. You went in and got them. You went in and got them. And there's so many children that don't have that. So that is special. That is calling. And I'm going to say it again. That's love. That
Yes.
is a love, because it's like I choose to make this choice. I choose to make this choice. And I get it. I understand those choices where it's really a no-brainer. So when people say, well, you have a choice, well, not really. It's a no-brainer, because my peace and what aligns with my frequency, I can make the other choice, but I'm not sure how I would live with that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I would live with that. And so the fact that you are pouring in, you and your husband, your mom, and now your children. How's your seven? Well, she's not 17 anymore. She's about 21. But how's your
Yes, she turned
daughter?
21 21 this month, well, next month, August 17th. She
Okay.
is doing well now.
Awesome.
She got to a place because she has a lot of sensitivity, so she never really quite liked children. So all that
Okay.
noise and all the extra stuff would it's just dysregulating, right? But
Right.
now she has adjusted and adapted. She creates space for herself. Like she knows how to drown out sounds for her room so she's not feeling frustrated. She even hugs the kids now and picks them up because she did not at first, and she even acts like a big sister,
Wow.
sometimes. Right? She comes in and she's like, you're not supposed to be doing that, or no, get over here, and those kind of things. So she's awesome. She's such a good dancer. She's such a unique individual to me, because for her to have as much social anxiety as she does, when it comes to her performance, she's a performer. But she can just, I'm so proud. I've always wanted to be able to dance like that. And so I'm like, she's everything I think I wanted to be, right?
Wow. Yes, I
And so, but
understand.
she has her passions. She's such an artist. She,
Mhm.
oh my goodness, I can't. I could talk about her all day. Every type of art that you can think of, whether it be freehand or paint or ceramics or whatever, this girl can just create. And then she can dance and
Wow.
cook, and everything's artistic for her.
She's a
And so she,
creative.
yes,
She,
like she's
I
awesome, and
love
she
it.
goes after her dreams. I am so like that's I've always wanted to be one to support. Like if you have a dream, because I didn't get that, when I was younger,
Yes.
right? It's like,
Yes.
girl, that doesn't make any sense. You need to go do this or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I try so hard to make sure that I support, and she's a dreamer, and I'm so proud, of her.
Yes. And it's a beautiful thing to have a child that is a dreamer, and for you to support that dream, because again, like how it feels to not be supported, and the sky's the limit. And it's almost scary sometimes to have kids that are dreamers, because I have two. And sometimes those dreams are way out of the stratosphere, and I don't have
Yes,
to understand them, but I just understand them, and I'm like, you got this. You got this. I
yes,
don't know. I don't see it, but I don't have to see it. As long as you see it, I believe in you. And
yep,
just pump them up like that. So, I love that we had this conversation, Lafaya,
yes,
because it kind of goes back on your podcast. You talk about it's not about the hand that you're dealt, but it's how you play that hand, right? So it's just
Yes.
like life brought to you a hand that you did not see it coming, but and it's not even the way that you pick up the cards. And by that, I mean, it's not even the way that you brought them into the house. The point is that you brought them in, right? Because when they first came in, there was some resistance, and that makes sense. I mean, really, it does make sense because it's like, hey, wait a minute now. This is not part of my plan. So the
Right.
fact that you have not given up on your dream, but you adjusted and you made the flexibility and you made the space literally by buying a
Yes.
5 bedroom house, literally, you made the space in your life to love on those babies. And what I know is this is love never fails and it never comes back void. So the investment that you have made in these children is bigger than any investment that you can make, any investment, because you have made an investment in the lives of 3 beautiful young girls and the dividends. I can't wait. I can't wait to stay attached and just continue to shine with you and just watch these babies grow and just hear these awesome stories about, just how they have bloomed. So,
Yes.
I always ask for a love drop from our guests. So, what love drop would you have for our listeners? And I guess let's talk about the babies. Let's just talk about the children. Let's talk about the village. What love drop would you have with someone that is maybe facing a decision like you, trying to find room in their heart to maybe take in the babies and maybe telling themselves all the reasons why it don't make sense?
Oh, my love drop for that is there is always room. Whatever's in your heart, room will always be made for that thing. So you don't have to worry about it. You just let it become unfold and become whatever it's supposed to be. All your job is to keep faith, keep those wherever your faith is. I'll say I keep my eyes up.
Mhm.
Right? And just focus in on when you have that dream on just being grateful for being given that dream and allowing whatever's coming to you to come to you. Because I would have never guessed the 5 bedroom house would be something that we'd be in. And I mean, it's something I would write out and stuff. 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, but I didn't even need that many, right? I'm writing this stuff out. And then all of a sudden, before it's time, and I'm talking about during a time when the housing market was horrible, by the way, we
Mhm.
bought this house. When everybody was going, people were moving from the Bay Area to Sacramento, they were flooding in. And so all the housing prices were going way up. Houses were going for way more than what they were worth. We got this house at cost without a single bidder against us. Okay. Room will be made. And we were nervous because every other house, people were bidding. We didn't find any that we wanted, but when we found the one that we wanted, that I have been saying I want to move back to the old neighborhood that I was in before, it perfectly situated, all these things. And all of a sudden, here this house, we weren't even looking in the area, honestly. We were just looking for a bigger house. And poof, our realtor sends us this 5 list, and let's go take a look at this one. Came to this house, knew it was mine. Room will be made. And I was like, oh, I hope, or I'm so nervous that, people are bidding. This is ridiculous, and all that. And there was no contest. We came in,
Wow.
we were in the house right away. Room will be made no matter what everything else on the outside looks like.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. Girl, I don't even want to end the conversation. This is,
I
wow.
know.
Wow. What I will say is to be continued. We will absolutely have you
Yes.
back, to be continued, because there's just so much, there's so many more layers to the Lafaya way. Okay.
Yes.
We didn't even get to the red brain alert. So, oh yeah, we will be back for
Yes.
sure. Before we sign off, though, how can our listeners contact you and support the awesomeness that you're doing in the world?
Yeah. Okay, so you can find me all avenues to me through lafayaway.com. Okay. It's Lafaya, lots of A's, WAY, because I wanted to add some more A's, .com. But you can find me on lafayaway.com. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. Twitter, I think, is something called, I think, Blue Skies is what we're gonna get into next. I'm not there yet, but I have somebody helping me with all that stuff because social media is it's a lot,
Yes, I got it.
but
Yes.
I have a lot of help. But you can find me through all of those as well. But lafayaway.com will take you to anything you want to get to. Okay.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, Lafayette, thank you so much for being our guest on Love Drop Podcast. The conversation will continue. And so until next time we have you back, we're going to say thank you for your time. And we're going to end with one love.
No, never a second will I waste. Never an opportunity to taste the sweetness of this life.
Thank you for tuning in to the Love Drops podcast.
Follow the challenges
Be sure to
of
follow
life.
this podcast and share the love with everyone you know.
Love it
Until
comes
next
so.
time, this is
Whether
Charles
big or small,
and Diane
love never,
signing off.
love never,
One love.
love it conquers all. Whether big or small, love never fails. Oh, love never, love it conquers all. Love never fails.